What I would like to do today then is go over a few of your thoughts, again, assess how you feel versus the data that came back. So if you would for a second, just highlight a few high moments over the past year, somewhere where you feel like you were just kind of at a status quo, and then a few negative lowlights, performance-based.
Sure. I think from a high perspective, I think I've done a good job just from a learning the material perspective and gaining intellectually to make sure I can perform in my job. From a poor perspective, I need to improve, in my opinion, upon communication with my team, making sure that I'm establishing expectations, and just making sure that they're set up in the best possible position to succeed.
Is there any area that you feel like was just kind of at an equilibrium that?
I think maybe just general competency, I suppose.
Okay.
Just like working with others, just general office presence, whether it be working with other people or just being able to work through problems.
Okay, great. Well, you were evaluated by 8 members of the team, and I kind of want to go over this a little bit because what you just spoke about essentially completely validated how you feel via the numbers. What I have here is your first initial dashboard. If you take a quick look, just surmise what you see here in relation to the response you had.
Sure. Offhand, I graded higher in areas than I thought I would have, such as innovation. I'm glad to see, as I said, that strategic and analytical thoughts are being graded high, and other people agree with me there. But in general, I'm very pleased with these results.
Yeah, I would say overall, your variance or the mean average between yourself and others, they're incredibly close, which is awesome. You're highlighting the points that you personally feel like you need self-improvement or self-awareness, and the others where there could be an opportunity for future success, you've established those. So that's great. But let's continue to move on. Please, if you have any questions at any point in time, let me know. So some of your top 5 items were competency, peers, and again, competency, peers. Can you kind of elaborate why you feel like you were rated so high by the other team members?
Sure, and I'm glad to see that other people have seen this in my work. But I think just from like an accountability standpoint, I've really made an effort to learn everything that I've had to do at a pretty deep level, which basically means since my time here, I've learned a majority of what goes on in our business. So from a strictly knowledge-based standpoint, that's always been my top goal as a professional.
Okay, great. And the reason I started with the positive is because I want to take a look at the opportunities for improvement again. So your bottom 5 are located here. The resiliency, the engagement of others, and the collaboration were kind of the highlights that I picked out. You mentioned this just a few seconds ago, that this was one of your weaknesses. Can you kind of elaborate why that is an opportunity for?
Absolutely. I get frustrated too easily. Sometimes I let it affect my work. So I assume there's going to be something in here about not having a positive attitude all the time. I try to bring my best, but at the same time I let things get to me. So that's something I'm trying to improve upon. From a collaboration standpoint, it's kind of the same thing, but just getting frustrated with people too easily. It's being routinely disappointed when other people don't live up to my expectations, which may sound like I'm not being modest, but that's my honest answer.
Okay. Just to kind of sidetrack from that with the expectations of your own personal value, why do you set a certain expectation at a certain level, but then discuss the collaboration or the negative response for somebody not meeting that expectation?
Sure. So, yeah, I suppose that I expect a lot from myself, and I expect other people to value the same things, which again is something I need to improve upon in order to get a better result when I'm working with other people.
So if you were to provide some sort of action plan, where would you start as a basis for that improvement?
I think that I would try to work on my attitude, first of all. I would try to just approach every situation positively, right? So every situation in which I get to work with somebody else positively. But I think the main hurdle I need to get over is when somebody doesn't understand it, not getting frustrated with that idea, but instead helping them overcome that issue.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a great thing because the things you're good at and the things you're bad at, there is kind of that equilibrium in between. And by bad, I mean bad according to the report, because everything's actually really on par. But using that confidence in the positive realm to slide into the teaching perspective. It sounds like your expectations are high, and I think a guy of your caliber and a guy of your ability would really benefit from reaching down to another team member that could benefit from that. There's a lot to learn, and I think by teaching, you could definitely, improve those areas.
Sure.
All right, so we also want to talk about a few of your hidden strengths and a few of your kind of what they're referred to as blind spots, meaning largest variances of you thinking a positive aspect of yourself, others not thinking as highly, and vice versa. So let's take a look at your hidden strengths first. What jumps off the charts is the strategic thinking. There's a 2.4 gap on a 4-point scale. So seeing this, would you like to identify some of the trends?
Yeah, I think, and why I would give myself that, when I think of thinking strategically, I think of really trying to, pull yourself out of the day-to-day, sort of production, like day-to-day mistakes, and really try to focus your efforts, like long-term, and how you can improve. And to me, I thought that was an area of weakness.
In an area of weakness, meaning of 1, why a 1 there?
Just like I said, it's part, I guess, to do with grading myself, hardest critic. Where it's if you set like that low standard where you think that you are, then you acknowledge that improvement needs to be made. I think that's where I was coming from.
Okay.
Where maybe it's not like bottom of the barrel type of 1, where compared to everyone it's the worst, but more like a 1 by my standards of what I need to do.
Okay, great. And I honestly think that ties into the blind spots, which would be the fosters collaboration at the end of this. If you want to take a look again here at the variance, do you find a correlation between the two of those identities?
Between strategic thinking and collaboration?
Between the expectations of yourself being a 1, where you actually graded much higher, versus the attitude and the response that you have in a negative light of someone not meeting your expectations.
Yeah, I guess I could see a correlation there. And for me, I suppose, like, just looking at this, I probably did, in my opinion, grade myself too high. Like, when I see other people's scores and I think about it, yeah, I could see that I could use improvement in that area as well.
Yeah. How do you think you could go about it?
Kind of just like the things I've been saying. I think composure, that's a really good word. Approaching every situation with composure, I think I could benefit, and then composure and positive attitude, I could really benefit from that. Also just, kind of just knowing my role in general, kind of just understanding exactly what I'm trying to do, and just, going after it positively.
Yeah, if you notice, the note I had was attitude.
Sure.
So just working with you in personal perspective, if something goes wrong, kind of oh no, the world's going to, instead of counteracting and just saying, your confidence is there, we got it, let's do it. So definitely.
Absolutely.
Again, I just want to show you these so you have more of a visual representation. The accountability piece, you were pretty much right on par. Again, the variances are not far. You'll see here the initiative piece, self and manager. Great. Organization piece, your direct reports, again, which is relatively interesting because you see the reporting section coming in for plans and organizers, but then again you rated yourself higher in a collaboration piece. So
sure.
Maybe there's an opportunity for more vocalization between the team members and yourself that are reporting directly to you.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions of these so far?
No, this looks great.
Efficiency's great. Collaboration, again, not far off, but
There's some variance there.
right, definitely room for improvement. Courage. Again, interesting because you mentioned that prior you may not feel as comfortable acting out a verbal plan, but your direct reports reported a 3.9. So
I think, and for me, acting with courage, I'm able to do that in a certain setting, such that with my team members, I know what they're doing, I know how they need to do it, and I can put them in a position to do that. I think for me, maybe courage comes from working with other teams, like that collaborative, point. And
Right.
collaboration can mean different things, I suppose.
great. Resiliency, I found this to be interesting because your direct peers actually had a 1.7 variance between your self-portrayal. And the odd thing is the courage and the resiliency, I think they're kind of one and the same. Would you like to elaborate on your response to that score?
I don't disagree with it. It's kind of what we've been saying in terms of just acting with composure. So, yeah, I think there's an area for improvement there.
So, again, the analysis of information, strategy, you're right on par. Adaptability, slight variance from your peers. Do you think, again, it's kind of a pattern trend for what we've been discussing?
Yeah, it is. It's true. It's good to see this stuff laid out like this. You can clearly see kind of everything, all the areas of improvement kind of link up.
Right. Innovation, you rated yourself relatively low there. Can you explain why?
I think when I think of innovation, I don't think about my position, I guess. I think about other areas of the company where like real change is being made, I suppose, and it's hard for me to associate with that. It's great to see other people graded higher, but in my position and for my personality, I don't think it's a great strength area.
Okay. Is there any room for improvement that you can?
I think so. I think always like looking outside the box. I'm a pretty analytical thinker, pretty straight to the point when it comes to stuff. So I think thinking more from an innovative perspective is something I could work on.
Yeah, definitely. All right. The development of others, I found this to be interesting as well. You were right on par with your direct reports, but your peers and managers had a little bit different view. Can you, again, elaborate why you would think that there was an inefficiency there?
I would just disagree. I would say that I've been, perhaps more than any other person in this company, the person like willing to help and I guess like learn everything and show people. But I guess it all comes back to maybe the delivery. It all comes back to delivering it in a way that other people can see. Although it is great to see the direct reports at least acknowledging it.
Yeah, I think it's something you do a great job with. I mean, last week going out for the lunch after a tough week, collaborating and being outside of the office a little bit. There's a big piece I think of trust and responsibility that comes with that sort of beneficial meeting. Engagement of others, again, your direct reports rated you much higher, a little bit lower than the manager. Your peers higher. So. All right, so finally, if I can just ask you a few questions. Overall, do you feel like this report validated your grading system when you took this?
I think so. Looking back, honestly, I'm surprised at a few of the answers I gave. Like, I can see why other people graded me, and I can see their perspective. So perhaps I had something else in mind, some other criteria.
Okay, so coming up with an action plan, if you could improve your collaboration, encourage others to perform at a level of expectation that is as high as yours, but maybe not being a failure if they don't meet that, how would you go about setting that up?
I think honestly this executive course is great for me because I'm learning different, managerial and higher level type thinking and actions. But more than anything, it might just be like a lifestyle change, just making sure that the attitude's there, bring your best each day, things like that. Maybe harder to quantify from like a work perspective, but still things I'll need to implement.
Great. Okay. Well, go out there and act it out.
Thanks, Jake.